Acura just unveiled the new Integra prototype, and today we're going to talk about why all of the haters are wrong.
Hey guys, what's going on, and welcome back to Shifting Lanes. My name's Chad, and this is the new Acura Integra prototype. And this is what people are saying about it.
Just in case you missed all of that, here are the things people are hating on when it comes to the new Integra. It looks like a bloated Civic. It's hot garbage. It is the letdown of the year. It doesn't look like the concept. And it goes on and on and on.
As we all know, internet commenters sometimes lack, logic, reason. They let their passion dictate the day, or in some cases, well, I should say most cases, ignorance kind of control the day. So I went to some of my most trusted automotive colleagues. And first off, we have Shifting Lane's own chief automotive reviewer, Mr. Hanson Luckman.
The first one is that for some reason, there's a lot of people on the internet that thinks that, or they are surprised to find out that the new Acura Integra is basically just a reskinned Honda Civic. I don't know why that's a surprise to many people, because that's always been the case. Acura Integras have always been more or less based off of the Honda Civic. And this new one, we all knew this. It was going to be based off of the new Honda Civic, which, by the way, I've already reviewed before. And Chad, if you don't mind, throw a card up there so people can check it out. The Honda Civic is a fantastic sedan. It's a great new car. The new platform is amazing. It handles really well. The ride quality is pretty decent, and I just love it. I love the new Honda Civic, and because it's the new Acura Integra is going to be based off of this car, the Acura Integra is going to be a fantastic car too. But that's just my guess for now.
So this brings up the biggest issue people seem to have with the new Integra, and that is it is based and looks like a rebadged Honda Civic, when Integras have always been based on Honda Civics. It's what the car is. It's what it's always been. And when you think about it, like Hanson said, the new Civic is a great little compact car for both the average person and enthusiasts alike. I really don't understand the mindset here. Acura told you it was going to be based on the new Civic. We know what the new Civic is going to look like. It doesn't take much to think, all right, here's Acura's design language at the moment, here's the new Civic, let's combine them. And when you do that, you end up with what Acura presented as the new Integra prototype. This should not have come as a surprise to pretty much anyone.
In many ways, this reminds me of another car that caused many internet commenters to light their torches and sharpen their pitchforks, the Mark V Supra. Toyota told us it was a shared project with BMW. They told us the Supra and Z4 were going to be developed together and would share the same platform. And yet, when the Supra came out, there was outrage. Some of the hate the new Supra got was, this isn't a Supra, this is just a BMW in Toyota bodywork. This is a disgrace to the Supra name.
All of this was seemingly missing the point. Toyota, yes, they have a history of building some brilliant sports cars. They are capable of doing it all on their own. They don't need anyone, let alone BMW's, help to do so. However, what Toyota has a bad habit of is taking a good idea and then engineering the absolute crap out of it, which sounds great, but it does come with its downsides.
This over-engineering led to some amazing cars, like the Lexus LFA and the legendary Mark IV Supra. There is no denying the status of the Mark IV Supra. It is one of the all-time greats. Unfortunately, it was also crazy expensive, and sales of the Supra plummeted, so much so that the Mark IV killed the Supra. Similarly, the LFA was engineered, and then engineered again, and so on. There was no detail too small in the pursuit for perfection, and they attained perfection at the cost of making, an actual profit.
That is why they had to partner with Subaru for the GT86 and BRZ, and why they had to partner with BMW to make the new Supra. Simply put, if they went it on their own, it would have been an amazingly expensive vehicle, and they really wouldn't have made any money on it. Without BMW, there is no new Supra, and that is just the end of it. And that is pretty much the same story with the new Integra.
Once you get past the very obvious thing that all Integras are based on Civics, you realize that not basing the new Integra on a Civic would cost so much money that you'd end up with a small luxury car with an enormous price tag. That, to be blunt, is completely unfeasible.
And that brings up another issue that is basically plaguing all new enthusiast-based vehicles, and that is unrealistic expectations, as my other colleague Gregson will now explain.
The Integra highlights a really good thing about the internet as a whole with unrealistic expectations as far as the rendering community is going. There are fantastic artists out there that can do insane things with graphic design. The problem is, those things will never exist, and you need to get it through your head that they will never exist. The Integra renders that we saw around the internet were phenomenal. They're beautiful. They're this two-door coupe design. You're probably looking at some right now. The problem is, those are renderings, and they won't exist. And the problem is everyone thinks that those are going to be the new cars. That's just not reality, guys. These are car companies that want to make money on anything. And the enthusiast culture is one of those things. Do I wish the Integra was different? Of course. I think we all do as enthusiasts wish that those renderings that harken back to the original 90s really Integra that everyone remembers, we all wish that. But that's not what we got. So I think everyone in the enthusiast community just needs to kind of take a step back, be glad that we have a manual 5-door hatchback as opposed to another crossover, and just let Acura kind of do their thing. Let's see what happens with the Type S.
Unfortunately, concept and renders live in a world without limitations. Production cars are limited by a litany of factors, not the least of which is something called hardpoints. Just like the FT1 concept had to be draped over Z4 hardpoints resulting in the new Supra, the new Integra concept has to be draped over Civic hardpoints. Hardpoints are things like seatbelt mounts, strut mounts, crash structures, etc. These cannot be moved without completely re-engineering the vehicle. For example, if you wanted to move the strut tower lower to provide a sleeker front end, you would have to completely re-engineer the front suspension. Redesigns aren't cheap, and this is why if Acura made the Integra everyone wanted, you'd end up with a compact car costing way too much money. So, in an effort to keep costs lower, Acura draped the new Integra bodywork over the existing Civic, which is pretty much the formula for every Integra that has ever existed. However, these looks seem to be the focal point of all the internet hate when it comes to the new Integra. What people should actually be paying attention to is what Acura is actually building, what Acura is actually bringing to the market.
We as enthusiasts constantly get on manufacturers for not offering more sporty cars with manual transmissions. However, here we have Acura actually giving us a manual transmission, and yet some of you are finding more reasons to complain when we should be celebrating Acura for actually giving us what we want, and that is a manual gearbox. Another thing to keep in mind, let's not forget that this is the base Integra. A Type S is coming, and that is rumored to have the Civic Type R's powertrain. If that doesn't get you excited, I'm not sure anything about this car will. The Civic Type R might be the best front-wheel drive sports car of all time. I will freely admit that the Integra prototype is a little fat in some areas. I would have liked to seen a little bit more of a sleeker design, something carrying more of the Civic's body lines. That being said, it is far from an ugly vehicle. It is actually pretty good looking in my opinion. Now, when you factor in a Type S and the more aggressive body styling that should be coming along with it, combined with the world-beating powertrain of a Civic Type R, and you have one hell of a vehicle I cannot wait to get behind the wheel and actually drive. And yet, everyone seems to be hung up on it being a rebadged Honda Civic.
To sum it up, people hate the new Integra because it looks like a modern Acura draped over Civic architecture. Somehow, despite all of Acura's best efforts, this was a shock to people. The Integra didn't meet their unrealistic expectations, so it must be trash. When in reality, we get another fun, sporty car with a manual transmission that we should be thankful for instead of hating.
It is a shame that in this day and age, when all we do is beg manufacturers to give us cars that offer way more engagement, manual transmissions, less electronic aids, more let's do it myself. And when the company actually comes out and says, hey, here's what you wanted, here's a manual transmission linked to a limited slip gearbox with a great engine focused on involving you as a driver, we nitpick. We find other areas to hate about it. And what's the manufacturer's incentive to keep doing this if all some people do is find faults with it? They gave us a car we asked for. We wanted this type of vehicle. We got it, and people hate it. I just don't get it. You may not like the styling, and that is completely on you. I'm not saying you should love the styling. What I'm saying is you should absolutely celebrate Acura for listening to what we as enthusiasts have been begging for, and then actually bringing a car to market with those features. But again, there's no pleasing everyone, so I guess I'm gonna have to leave it there. That's a wrap for this video, guys. I'll catch you next time.